Welcome to the Radio Horror YouTube channel. Tonight we are talking about vampire Netflix films that we have skated by a little bit, but we're going to be catching up now. There's a not a slew of vampire movies coming out, but they're trickling in here and there. And there were two vampire movies in particular that came out on Netflix: Night Teeth, as well as Day Shift. And Day Shift has the bigger cast. Night Teeth has the smaller cast. As there was only one actor in Night Teeth that I could recognize off the top of my head without IMDbing, and it was Megan Fox. And then Day Shift has two, big name one big name actor and a famous rapper, Jamie Foxx and Snoopdogg. I was a fan of one. I was not a fan of the other. The fact that if a movie has to take me 3 sittings to watch it and finish it is not because I'm busy, is because I just cannot get through the film. But I like Night Teeth, did not like Day Shift. Katie has other ideas. I don't know. We'll discuss it.
All right, Fang Bangers.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
so we're going to talk about some vampire flicks. So, all you bloodsuckers out there, be prepared. First, let's talk about Day Shift. Let's see, Day Shift, directed by J.J. Perry and starring Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco, Natasha Lou Bardizzo, Carla Souza, Steve Howie, and as he said, Snoop Dogg. Day Shift is about Bud, played by Jamie Foxx, who is a pool cleaner. He has a 10-year-old daughter and an estranged wife. But what he actually is a vampire hunter killer. He apparently, when in the San Fernando Valley, when you kill a vampire and you take their fangs, they're worth a lot of money. You go to this little it seemed like a little bit like Harry Potter to me, the way the area was. There were like accountants and bankers and all these rules and booklets you had to follow if you're going to do this. I kind of like that. I thought that was interesting. I liked how there's a business aspect to it and not just like, rough and tumble. You have to do all this stuff. Now, uh, little Dave Franco plays the accountant who's here to help, or actually, he's more of he's kind of a snitch for Jamie Foxx, but he is goes on little outings with Jamie Foxx to make sure he's doing everything right, crosses the T's, dots the I's. If he buys him a muffin and Jamie doesn't take it, he still owes him $6. That I thought was cute. Don't know if I necessarily want to see them in a buddy cop duo sort of film after that, but I thought it was fun. What I really liked were uh, the stunts, which were all done from actual like contortionists. I mean, these people's bodies, it is not natural what they were doing. This is not CGI. This is contortionist. These are like Cirque du Soleil, like vampire crap. I mean, it was insane. That was awesome. It's also awesome to see a couple different ways to kill vampires that you don't see everywhere, all the time, and a little bit of history for, the Southern California area with some vampire lore and whatnot, and a couple of temples in there. The one thing I did not understand though is apparently Jamie Foxx has been doing this for a while, yet his wife doesn't know anything about it, and he also doesn't know who like this main vampire chick is who's like taking over the San Fernando Valley. That didn't seem to make much sense to me, considering it seems like he's been doing this for a while. Also, there are a number of characters that like came in, did some stuff, and then all of a sudden just came out, like Steve Howie and the guy Scott Atkins, who played the Nazarian brothers. They were awesome. They took down this house that was just basically a nest of vampires. Whole slew of things are going on. That was a lot to see. That was a smorgasbord for the eyes for me. Don't know why they only popped up there and then not again. Seemed kind of weird. Also, it was interesting how some people you can cut off their head, others you can just put it back on. Why? I don't know. But it also I also liked how they kind of had like different nationalities and variations of vampires that they talked about, like these vampires would be staying with these vampires and these vampires like that. That was kind of nice, although they only mentioned it once in one scene. So would have liked a little bit more about that. I can see this definitely possibly having a sequel to it. So, if maybe it, because there definitely seemed like there was a little bit more going on, that they started with the who was it, Carla Souza as this Audrey, who was supposed to be like this head vampire chick, but there was definitely somebody else that was like in the background, but they didn't show their face. So I'm thinking there's going to be a sequel. I'm not sure. I thought that Jamie Foxx was great doing all of these stunts and being very physical. I've noticed there are a number of actors that are not doing that. It's kind of annoying. So I thought he was fantastic doing what he did. I also thought that the little girl that played his daughter was amazing. Cool car chases, again, fantastic stunts, all the contortionists, all that stuff. The production design, not bad, pretty good. Again, just a little confused regarding some people coming in and out and don't know why that was, but I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was a little long. I would like to see what they do with the sequel if they end up doing it, because I think Jamie will be great in something like this, but I didn't hate it. So I would say, I don't necessarily think Chris sucks for not liking it, haha, vampire humor. But yeah, I didn't hate it. So tell me what were the things that made you think it sucked?
Just overall, for one thing, it was way too long, and
It was
I
long.
never thought Snoopdogg to be like an actor. He is just playing himself, in every time he's on screen, and I didn't think I never laughed once during the movie, and this is supposed to be like a comedy. Even when it's supposed to be action, tense, hyper violent, it was still supposed to be a comedy. David Franco, unfortunately, I just have never found him to be funny. I saw a couple things he's directed, those are good. I'm glad he's kind of getting away from his brother, which is nice that he's still doing stuff. But I don't, and nothing in this movie with him I found to be funny. And honestly, I went into this thinking it was supposed to be some type of, action comedy. Like Netflix has been putting out a lot of like, I wouldn't say screwball action comedies, but stuff like that Mark Wahlberg movie that came out a couple years ago during the pandemic with Anthony Mackie.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can't remember the name of it. He just did one with Kevin Hart. This seems to be the thing with Netflix. They're putting out these like kind of mediocre action comedies, and I'm just never finding myself laughing during them at all. I don't need the humor to be like blatantly obvious. It doesn't need to be like in jokes with like Marvel the way they do their humor, which is subtle and just part of this narration flow. But when I saw Jamie Foxx attached to this, I'm always thinking of him more as a comedic actor. Yes, he's done dramatic roles before. It was kind of surprising to see him jump onto this, but everyone seems to be getting like a Netflix contract to do some movies. Did you say there's gonna be a sequel, or are you hoping there's gonna be a sequel?
I don't know if there is for sure going to be a sequel, but I would say they were definitely boosting it up for a sequel.
Okay, yes. And then, Netflix again, they've been the with the exception of AMC's Interview with the Vampire coming out, they're like the go-to for the vampire stuff because they also had a TV show recently that unfortunately got canceled after one season. Romeo and Juliet with vampires and vampire hunters in the LGBT community. But and now they do Day Shift, and they've got another vampire movie coming that I'm aware of. Off the top of my head, it's making me scratch it. But then they put out they put out something last year, which I found to be like originally dark and gothic and fun, and I was kind of surprised by it. I went into it with some trepidation. I was just like, oh, this is better than I was expecting it to be. Up until the very end. Oh, look, the bad guys aren't quite the way you think they are. There's I think there's better stuff in Night Teeth than there were in Day Shift. The focal point character being the a limo driver. I've done that before. I've picked up some weird people, never vampires, but I've hung out with the vampires in the same community. They're more like the characters in in Night Teeth than they are in Day Shift. Let's just say.
Uh, and last thing about Day Shift is that I do like at the end, which is a spoiler, but this came out August 12th, so it's
Yeah.
been 2 weeks.
Oh wow.
There's definitely a nod to the Lost Boys when one of the main characters says, you know, something it's what I always hate about the San Fernando Valley, too many vampires. I'm like, oh, that's a little nod to Lost Boys. So I like that. Now, so let's switch over to Night Teeth, which came out October 20th on Netflix. By the way, both of these are still on Netflix. Directed by Adam Randall and started Jorge Lindeborg Jr., Debbie Ryan, and Lucy Fry. Lucy Fry actually is familiar with some vampire films because she did Vampire Academy not that long ago. But Jorge Lindeborg
Oh wow.
Jr. plays Benny, and Benny is a college kid who just wants to make music. He's struggling on funds. His brother Jay is kind of like the alpha dog in this group of people where they're from I think Boyne Heights, something like that. And they kind of keep the world at bay to make sure that the vampires are at bay. And again, Southern California. Something I think is very funny is that, you know, Los Angeles in that area hasn't been around that long. And I know they always like, oh, you know, the ancients and all that stuff. If this was Europe and it was like thousands of years and all that stuff, I would get it. But I think it's always funny when, you know, you have the Southern California, it's like, oh, the wise ones and stuff like that. You guys haven't been around that long. I mean, America's only like, you know, a few hundred years old. So get over yourselves a little bit, okay? But Benny is a college kid. He needs some money. He says he will drive for his brother. These two women around, and the two women end up being vampires. I thought the performance by Jorge Lindenberg Jr. I've seen him in a number of things. I think he is adorable. One thing about this film that I feel like Day Shift did
Oh
not have at all, which is also something with yes, he was in Bumblebee, correct? Yeah.
yeah. He was the
Is
other
that
human.
Night Teeth definitely had the more sexier aspect about it. One thing about vampires is that I don't know, there's usually some sort of like sexual tension and stuff like that. Day Shift did not have any of that. There was no sexy time at all. Night Teeth definitely did. The scenes between Debbie Ryan and Jorge Lindenberg, yeah, you could light a freaking inferno. It was amazing. But this one again, kind of weird with the story of the vampires. It's like for some reason everything is going well with whatever communities they're in. Same with Day Shift, same with Night Teeth. You know, there's a hierarchy. Vampires have to live by 3 rules. Don't go into Boyle Heights. Don't feed on people who don't want to be fed, and don't let anyone know, you know, that you're a vampire. Just don't let the humans know that vampires exist. They're rich as hell. They're balling out. I mean, one thing about Night Teeth that Day Shift didn't have, the productions. I mean, you've got the cars, you've got the houses. I mean, these places were amazing. A lot more. I just know, I don't know. I thought it was a lot more just yeah, a lot more money than and
glossy
yeah,
too.
and also it seemed like it was a lot bloodier. The fights I thought were fantastic in this. This I felt was like more physical, not as much the contortionist, but definitely more like pounding and stuff like that. You didn't see like heads being ripped off and stuff, which again is kind of interesting since I don't think either one of them really had that much blood, considering they are vampire films, which I think was kind of interesting. Definitely more of the black goo and the dust and stuff when stuff when the daylight comes. So that was kind of odd. But I love, yeah, I thought the acting was great in this one. I thought the direction was great. Love again the chemistry between Debbie Ryan and Benny. So Blair and Zoe, fantastic. I nice little cameos by Megan Fox and Sydney Sweeney, and then Alfie Allen. These are all people that I know. So I was nice to see them on the screen and do little things. Although I wish they would have done more, at least with Sydney Sweeney and Megan Fox. This is something that did confuse me though. It seemed like they were two of these, older vampires, meaning they've been vampires like hundreds of years longer than the two main stars of the film, who are basically the muscle of the movie. Why can these two women not defeat this one male vampire? It was I didn't understand some of that. I wasn't sure, even if Victor, this Victor, who is Alfie Allen, was, a vampire who'd been a vampire longer, you still have two badass women, Megan Fox and Sydney Sweeney. I think they could have taken him down. I don't know. That was a little confusing to me. I could have been dozing on and off and all that stuff. I do like both films. I think both should be seen. Again, I think the acting and the chemistry in 19th was a little bit more natural than it was in Day Shift. I do think some of the scenes in Day Shift were funny though. That during that contortionist scene, and no offense, I can have the humor of a 13-year-old boy. Every time Dave Franco peed his pants, which it's a lot, he does it like 3 times. That made me laugh. I'm sorry, not sorry. It was funny. But yeah, it's 2 films right now. They're 2 newer films. Do I think 19th will get more of a sequel or anything? Like, no, I feel like this was like a one-off. And that's fine.
That's fine.
Also don't make fun of somebody when you don't know who their passenger is, because they may be a vampire and then you might be killed later on when you need a ride. What? So, yeah.
It's just also funny. 19th's got the old alumni from the Transformer movies and the new alumni from the Transformer movies as well, which is something that it wasn't until months later I was talking to somebody about it, and they're like, "There's 2 Transformer actors." I'm like, "There are 2 Transformer actors in that movie." It just totally dawned on me. But the problem with 19th, and this is the only slight against it, and it's the marketing team, it's the press, it's whoever pumped that movie up to be the Megan Fox vampire movie, and we don't see no Megan Fox until like halfway through that film. And I was like, where is Megan Fox? And then she shows up, and she doesn't have that big of a role. But boy, oh boy, did every marketing website, from Ain't It Cool News to Bloody Disgusting to all the horror sites, were like, Megan Fox vampire movie. By the way, there's a bunch of other people in here, including somebody who was one of the 4 human actors from Transformers, Bumblebee. Uh, I guess she's got the bigger star power still than this guy right here. But
oh yeah, definitely. She's got bigger star power than all 3 of them.
I loved him in Bumblebee. I thought he was the goofy guy next door compared to the girl next door. And I was like, I like him in Bumblebee. I want to watch this movie. So he was the drawing power for me. When I heard Megan Fox was in it, I was like, okay, Megan Fox is a vampire. That's pretty cool. I definitely want to see that. And then I saw Alfie is best known as Theon Greyjoy from the original Game of Thrones, not the current Game of Thrones, which is on TV right now.
That's House of Dragon. Dragon. That's not, yeah.
So him playing a swarmy butthole older vampire was like, he always has that, how they say some women have like resting bitch face, he has resting a-hole face. Like, he's always got this look like he's got something that he's angry about, or he's gonna be a snively little whiplash character like he was on Game of Thrones. He's so full of power, but he's just this little punk in the end, which is just fitting for him. If that's the role he gets, that's totally fine. But this movie reminded me. Reminded me a lot of the. Oh God, I hope I remember it. Because there's a reason why I wanted to do this movie with the Jamie Foxx film is because this movie reminded me a lot of Collateral with Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise, which is one of my favorite Jamie Foxx films. Also, Tom Cruise looks fantastic with silver hair in that movie.
He does.
Yeah, and this movie was like, I remember saying something. It's like Collateral with vampires, and I was like, oh okay, I'll watch that. Um, and I loved it. And now, as you said, will it get a sequel? No. Should it? No. Not everything needs a sequel, people. We don't need to turn everything into the Marvel franchise. Movies stand alone by themselves is totally fine. If it does, I'd be surprised, but Netflix has never announced anything about a sequel to this movie, and we would have heard something about it since then. Definitely go see this film. I'm kind of doing this with the two films. Again, the reason why I put them together, I just mentioned it's it's a vampire double feature night. If you want a couple new vampire movies to watch with some decent actors in it, whether the performances are good or not is up in the air. Yeah, and then you can bite me and then enjoy these films. There's gonna
Question.
be
You were saying how you're not sure why Megan Fox was the person who was like they kept talking about Megan Fox, but you like that guy. What's that guy's name? Because
on the
that
top
is
of my head,
why,
yeah.
yeah, that is why they touted up Megan Fox on this. I think he's great.
But what's
Um,
funny is that he's like behind Megan Fox. The number one person on the cast list on most websites is Debbie Ryan.
oh yeah. I mean, she was like a Disney girl. So I think
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was Disney girl, but now it should be Sydney Sweeney because Sydney Sweeney and everything was Euphoria. And
Oh, yeah.
I think Sydney Sweeney is nominated for a Emmy for this season of Euphoria and whatnot. But I mean, the
I've
cast
never
was
watched
great.
Euphoria, but somebody told me I need to watch it.
It was great. But yeah, just to answer your question, why Megan Fox was it's like I love Jorge. I think he's amazing.
Right.
As long as I don't know if it's Jorge or George, but I think it's Jorge. But I think he's amazing. I like what he does. I like this sweetness in his face, and like I again keep
Yeah.
talking about the chemistry between him and Debbie Ryan, and it really is hard to look that shocked when he sees some of the stuff that he does.
Uh-huh.
And he does a great job, and I've
Yeah.
liked him in anything he's done. But it's the fact that I had to look up his name, and I've watched that movie like a few times, and I don't know his name. So
It,
that's
it,
why Megan Fox was the headliner.
it was right here. It was right here. And then pulled out Bumblebee, and I'm like, Hawkeye is in this. What's the name of the kid? Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld. Yep.
But I don't even consider her to be, by the way, the star of Bumblebee. I consider effing Bumblebee to be the star of Bumblebee. Because there was a lot of Bumblebee in that movie. This guy was just like the goofy comic relief, and he's kind of the comic relief in this movie too. I hope this is what he's gonna do more often. I haven't looked up a lot of his other IMDb stuff. If I see him again, I'll be happy and excited to see him. If you want more vampire goodness, go on the Radio Heart YouTube channel and check out my interview with a vampire. I'm not even kidding. It's literally, I should have called the video Interview with a Vampire. It's interview with Father Sebastian, the head of the Endless Night organization and the House of Night vampire religion, an author of many, many, many of vampire novels. And by novels, I don't mean fiction. I mean like lore of the history of vampires and vampirism. And check out Katie's reviews as well, and as well as the other reviews that we've done recently, like Beast and Bodies, 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 and we got more coming up in September and October. And like, subscribe, and comment, and all that good stuff. If you have any questions or comments, send them to thatradioheart@gmail.com or leave them in the comment section below. Thank you, everybody. Have a fright night.